Roar! 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 Hi everybody, and welcome to Cap at Home. And I'm Miss Allie, and today we are going to be making super fun dino feet. And this is a super fun project, really easy and wearable. So, what you're going to need today is a tissue box, empty, and preferably one of the longer ones, the rectangle ones. You're also going to need some glue, so Elmer's glue works great, or if you have Modge Podge around, glue stick or tape, anything like that'll work. Some scissors, and probably a paintbrush and a little cup for your glue, as well as some paper, construction paper or tissue paper, any colors that you'd like. And if you see in my examples, I have a few different colors. So I'm going to show you how to get your box ready, decorate it, and make your own kind of dino feet. So let's get started. I'm going to set this aside. And so the first thing I'm going to do is take my box, and depending on what size of feet that you have, you might have to make this open part of the tissue box a little wider. If you have small feet, then you might not have to, but if you do, then a simple way to do this is just cut the sides like that, diagonal, and then kind of make this little opening. I'm going to do that on all four sides, like this. And I just have regular scissors, and I'm just going to cut and take that piece off. And if you want to, you can even cut some of the side off just to make it even. If you need some help with this, maybe ask a parent or an older sibling to help you out with this part. But again, you only have to do this if you have bigger feet. If you have small feet, then you might not have to do this step at all. So I have my scraps. I'm going to set those aside. And I have some tape. And what I'm going to do is actually tape the edges on the inside here to make sure they're not sharp. And you can do this even if you cut the sides or not. This is just to make sure it doesn't hurt your feet when you put your feet inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this kind of quickly. Just taping the inside. And the nice thing is we're going to cover this, so you're not really even going to see this part. And I'm just using masking tape, any kind of tape that you have. It just kind of gives an extra layer. And I'm not doing it perfect. Doesn't have to look perfect. Alright, and this just kind of helps it make not sharp. And I had also taped this side just to make sure it doesn't open. You can do that or not. It's totally up to you. So, when you have it look like this, it's actually time to start decorating. So, there are a couple ways that you can do this. You can use just construction paper. I like using scrap construction paper because we're going to be cutting some of it up. So you can either take a full sheet of paper and just cover all your sides like this. This is a simple way to do it, but if you do this, then you can kind of decorate it with, you could color it with markers, or you could add other shapes or different cutouts to it. You can also do this method, which is construction paper, and I cut up into smaller shapes. And I totally covered it with like layering with these shapes. And this sort of looks like a collage method. Or another option is to use shapes of tissue paper. And this kind of gives it a transparent look. And so there's lots of overlapping here. And you can see the different colors. And so this is a really cool way too. But you can choose any sort of way that you want. So either you have tissue paper or streamers, anything like that will work. So I'll show you both and show you how they look. So this is where my little cup and brush come in handy. So I have this Modge Podge, but anything that you have on hand will work. Elmer's glue, you can use a glue stick, you can even use tape, anything that you can use to get stuck. But if you have Elmer's glue or Modge Podge, this is how you would do it. So I have my box, and this box is kind of dark, so I might need to do a few layers. So let's say I have some tissue paper here. I have a few different colors, and I'm actually just going to take my scissors and cut a few strips on here. And I'm going to cut smaller rectangle shapes or sort of squares. I'm going to cut kind of a handful because, especially with tissue paper, you'll probably need to overlap and layer more than you think, especially if you have sort of a patterned or a dark tissue box. If you have a white one or like sort of a lighter one, it might not need as many. So I have a bunch of tissue paper here. I'm going to kind of set this aside. So I'm going to show you how to put this on. So I'm going to start, again, you can use a glue stick, but if you have Elmer's glue, this works too, and it's really good to do this with a brush. And so I'm actually just going to glue this side, and I'm just kind of placing some glue on here, brushing it on. And I'm actually just going to take some tissue paper, and this is where I think it's helpful to use a brush and to kind of brush it over there. And so you see how it's kind of really light? So this is where you might need to add some layers. Layers are good. It might take you some time, but that's okay. And you'll probably even see the pattern from the box. That kind of gives it a really interesting effect. And that's okay to add glue over this because it's going to dry clear. And you can use any colors that you want. I think it's interesting if you have a few different colors. And I have some greens and blues and a little bit of yellow in here, but you can use a color scheme if you want to do the cool colors, which is green, blue, and purple. If you want to do warm colors, you could do yellow, red, and orange. You can also do a combination of everything, totally up to you. So again, I'm just kind of gluing on here. And I'm going over it too with a little bit of glue, just to make sure it stays down. I'm not super concerned about the bottom here, because you don't really see the bottom. So as you see, I'm starting to add some different layers and colors. And I think the tissue paper is really nice because you can see a lot of different layers and colors in here. But again, paper works just fine. Just to give you kind of a quick idea. And you can do as many layers as you want. You could also do one layer, let it dry, and then add some more on top of that. That's totally fine too. But you can see I'm starting to get some really nice layers and colors here. And the more that you add, the more colors and layers that you have, the cooler it is going to look. So I kind of did this part similar to this one. And I might add one more piece down here in the corner. Again, I'm not super concerned about getting it to stick on the bottom. You can also just glue these pieces down with a glue stick. Alright, so kind of like that. So now I'm going to show you how to do the paper method. Either one works. Just kind of give you a quick idea how both of them look. So I might have some construction paper scraps as well. Like I said, scraps work really great for this project. And I might have a few different colors of scraps. I have some warm colors. Maybe I'll even throw in a purple in there. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to cut some squares. And they can be as big or as small shapes as you want. And they don't have to be perfect. As you can see, I'm kind of just like quickly cutting a few shapes. You can even do a combination of paper and construction paper and tissue paper if you want. You want to get a little creative. And I want to show you both because they look a little different. As you can see on here, the paper is a little darker, which means that it's a little bit harder to glue down, but that's okay. And this one, you can really see all the layers, so this one you might need more. For this one, even though you're overlapping with just paper, paper is really a solid, so you don't really see a lot of the under layers of colors. So I just want to give you a quick idea to show you what that looks like. And this is also a really great project to have a work table that's easy to wipe down or something underneath your table. So in case you get glue on it, it's not a big deal. So again, I'm just going to add some glue, the same process. You can use, again, you can use a glue stick, you can use Elmer's glue, you can use Mod Podge, you can even tape these down. So I'm going to do the same thing. I put some glue down, and I'm just going to go over this. And I'm going to kind of make some layers here. I want some kind of interesting patterns, I like to overlap things. And I don't do it in a specific order. And I think when you overlap the shapes like this, it really kind of makes it look like dinosaur scales. But you can use any color that you want in as many colors as you want. I usually use about 3 to 4 different colors, but it's totally up to you. You could use 20 colors, you could use 1, up to you. Alright, so just to kind of give you an idea. So it's kind of the same type of process. And I would want to do this all the way around. And the nice thing about using glue like this is that you're getting smooth lines and you're going over it, but it also dries clear. So you're not going to see the glue. It's not going to show up white. It's going to show up clear. Alright, so I could finish this whole side up and it would be covered in paper. And then this side is starting to dry. It doesn't take very long to dry. You can kind of see the overlapping too. And if you really don't want to see any of the bottom texture of your Kleenex, you can just keep adding layers. So, once you have this completely covered, I'm going to use this one as my example. This one's all done. So you want to make sure all the glue is dry to the touch. So then you can decorate it. You can add some details. So another thing we need to do is add some claws or dinosaur sort of, dinosaur claws or toes. So I have a couple of different ones here. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can use cardstock like I do here, which is kind of like thicker paper. You can also cut up some cardboard, spared cardboard, into some triangles, or even use a sponge. If you have a sponge that you're not using, you can cut that into triangles as well. So I'm going to show you just with some cardstock, because that's what I have here with me. And what we're going to do is really simple. We're just going to do some triangles. So I like to have 3 claws or toes, but you can have 4 if you want. You can have just 2, totally up to you. And I fold my paper like this so that when I cut my triangles, they're going to be the exact same size and shape. So I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors. You can draw out your triangle shape too. And I say triangle shape, but it can be any shape that you want. I think they're always a little bit like triangles. But again, if you want to make them more rounded, more pointy, skinny, fat, totally up to you. So there's just my outline. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. Alright, and because I folded it, I have 3 of the exact same size. And this is an important step, whether you do this with cardboard or paper. I always make a little fold going forward, because this is what we're going to glue to attach to our box. It makes it much easier to attach, so it kind of looks like this. See? Alright, I'm going to do that on all 3 of them. Alright, so it kind of looks like that. And so this way, when we glue them, I glue it on the front side. Choose whatever side you want to be your front. Glue it on the top of the front side so they kind of stick out like that. And this is where, again, you can use tape, glue stick, or your handy dandy glue and brush. So I'm just actually brushing the top here. A little bit of glue. All right. And this is where our little fold comes in nicely. Because I can actually glue, oh, if I don't drop it, I can glue this part down and hold this part and press down the fold here. This is, again, if it gets a little tough, you can use a glue stick, or you can even just tape it down. Clear tape works best, so then you don't even see it. But you can glue it like that and do that with all, and I kind of overlap where your fold is, so it kind of goes on top here. Of each of them, it sort of overlaps the sides. They don't have to be perfect. Alright, and so I kind of have my toes, claws, whatever you like to call them. And they kind of overlap. And the nice thing about this is that you can kind of bend it so they can kind of look like they're crawling like that. So those are how you make your toes. or your claws, whatever you want to call them. Again, you can make those in cardboard, just do triangles, or cut out triangles in a sponge. Now the last step is to decorate. So now there's a couple different things that you could do. You can call this good. You could be totally done. You have a really cool pattern on here. We got really cool layers. Or you could get a little bit creative and you could add some things. So if you see on here, I added some kind of sparkles to my toenails. I added some glitter. You could even take this and let's say you wanted to, maybe you wanted to add some polka dots to your dinosaur. So let's say I wanted to cut out a few different circle shapes. Again, they don't have to be perfect. You could also draw on your side with markers. If you chose to do just the plain color method, you could draw all over it. You could draw polka dots, you could draw stripes, zigzags, any sort of pattern. You could also add glitter to it. You could add stickers, totally up to you. It is your personal dino feet. So let's just say I have a few sort of circles, quick circles, and I wanted to add some polka dots. You could totally do that. Why not, right? Doesn't have to be an exact looking dinosaur. These are kind of our creative, personal interpretations of dinosaur. If I had dinosaur feet, I'm pretty sure they would have polka dots. Yellow ones. I think so. So I just have a few, and I'm just going to go ahead and do the same sort of process. I'm going to glue a few down, put a little bit of glue on here. I'm just going to take them and kind of glue them down. And you can use any colors that you want, and that's kind of flying away from me, but that's okay. And again, this nice thing is that the glue kind of dries clear. And you don't have to add any decorations. If you like the way it looks just how it is, that's awesome. This is just to give you an idea, just another type of way that you could finish up your dinosaur. Again, it's really important to let things dry in between doing things so you don't become covered in glue. But if you do, it'll wash off with soap and water. Just make sure you clean up after yourself and clean up your table too. So let's say I have a couple of polka dots on here. And I'm going to let that dry. And I could also, let's say I have my marker and I wanted to draw on my toenails. I could do that. And I'm just kind of adding some toenails into my claws. I could do it like that. I could even add some glitter if I wanted to. I'm a fan of glitter, but make sure you have permission from someone in your family to use this. I have some glitter glue. I think that kind of works the best. This kind of gives a sparkly outline. Again, it's super important to let this dry now. So I have that. So now, if I decorated, I might add more circles on all the sides, but now that I've added some sparkles, I want to make sure that it dries. And now I have my completed set of dino feet. Make sure you want to make two so you have both feet. And they can be the same colors, they can be different colors, you can layer them, paper, tissue paper, totally up to you. But before we dance around in our dino feet, we want to make sure we are all cleaned up. So if we have scrap tissue paper, you might want to set that aside, put it in a little baggie so you can use it for another project. Any other scraps that are too small or too broken to use, we want to make sure we throw those away. We want to make sure all the lids to everything that we used were closed and on tightly. Make sure our markers have lids on them, glue sticks, and if you used a cup of glue and a brush, we want to make sure we go rinse that out, which I'll do right after this video. And we want to make sure that all of our scraps are put together. We want to save these if they're still usable. So once your space looks just how it did before we started, we are done. Once your thing dries, go ahead, put your feet in and dance around in your little dino feet and show me your best dinosaur roar. Thank you guys for watching and participating. I hope you enjoy. When you make your dino feet, I would love to see a picture or even a video of you stomping around in them. They are very fun to make, very easy. Again, you can use tissue paper or a combination of both. There's instructions in the comments of this video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for our other videos at 1 and 2 p.m. today. Thanks, guys.